time together and put them time together and
The
put
one
them on
that's
a
in
pole.
restraints would be released, because more than likely the one that's in restraints is because the nurse doesn't want to deal with it, and they're increased probability of harm, but it's not fair to the patient.
Well, if they're causing more harm to
I'm
the
giving an
staff.
example of the same exact patient. Two exact patients, one
Oh,
is
okay.
one is restrained, the other one isn't. I'm not saying like they're different. I'm just right now, just for question purposes, they were same treatment, same diagnosis.
So in that case, either restrain them both or restrain neither.
And more than likely it's no restraints, because you do not want to you rarely put your patient in restraint unless they're intention of harming themselves or others. It's not because the nurses just doesn't want to go every 10 minutes to see if they're okay.
I got in trouble for that. I got screamed at by a nurse once when I was in EMT, and I was like really young. And I was in EMT and I was in an emergency room, and there was this lady that was in restraints, and I walked by her room and she was like taking them off, and then she gets up and walks out of the room. I'm like, okay, whatever. And we gotta keep walking. And well, 5 minutes later, some nurse comes screaming out of that room. What happened to that patient? Who took her out of restraints? She's like, did anybody see this? There's no way she got out of the hospital without anybody seeing her. I'm like, yeah, so I kind of got yelled at because I got caught. It was very sad. Nurses can be mean, by the way, especially the EMTs. I don't know what that is. Jeez. Anyway, moving on. Obviously, you have to be truthful. Okay. What the heck is fidelity?
What?
Fidelity, faithfulness to commitment. What? Why would that come into? What's an example of that?
Well, I think maybe if you like tell a patient like, oh, I'll figure this out for you, I'll come back. You know, or something, make sure you go and do it.
Kind of like keeping your word?
Yeah, keep your word.
That might be what they mean by that. Sure. There's any? Okay. Alrighty, so we already talked about this, I believe, a lot last time. And there's going to be another part a few minutes ago. You may find yourself on an ethics committee. Did we talk about that with what if your coworker, also a nurse, you're both nurses, coworker like comes to work stoned or something? No? All right, so what if, your coworker and, say it's, I don't know, Reagan and Zach, right? Let's pick on Reagan. Reagan comes to work stoned. What do you do, Zach?
Ask her where she died.
Wow, probably shouldn't pick anybody else. Yeah, boom! That was a good one.
Come on, that was like the best answer ever.
All right. Anybody but Zach. What do you do?
Ask her where she
Huh? Okay, fine. She's on heroin.
Oh my God.
That's
Yeah,
even
Reagan's
worse.
on heroin. What do you do? Reagan shows up from work. She's clearly on heroin. And how? Do what? Call admin rep?
Or would you just leave it?
Natalie. Oh, Natalie's busy. Sorry.
Go ahead.
What did they tell you guys about this? What would be your first action if you're a nurse, Reagan's a nurse, you both come to work, Reagan's on heroin? What did they tell you what you should do?
You have to confront the nurse first, and then based on that as well, technically you would have to go up the chain of command and go to the charge nurse as well. So you have to let if they come to work like that, they're
Notice Natalie said that twice. You have to talk to them first. Okay, you have to talk to them. You know, because you do have some ethical obligation to help each other. If somebody ends up, for example, in front of a state licensing ethics committee because they're looking at taking their license, they gave them a lot of chances already. The nursing profession, medical profession, they understand that some people are addicts, and they want you to help each other get better. Okay? Obviously, they can't treat patients if they're high. They need to go home, they need to go get a treatment, right? But you do need to go to them, and instead of just running around them first, right? So you may get there running around them, but you do have to go to them, Bridget.
And
So,
then usually the charge nurse is gonna tell you, usually they should tell you, have you spoken to them first? Confirm, because you can't just be like, oh, they look high, they look intoxicated, but say, what if they're like just tired? You know, obviously you still have to talk to them, but you have to confirm it with them. You can't just be like, I think they're intoxicated, let me go tell the charge nurse now, because then you're just creating a bigger situation.
And you do have to have some trust between each other too. Yeah.
so how do you approach that, and what are you trying to do by confronting them, asking them to
Remember,
leave?
You're not necessarily confronting them so much as you're trying to help them. Keep that in mind.
You have to keep it in mind, yeah, there's patients that are under their care. The patients are in harm's way if the nurse is not completely capable of doing her job. So, yeah, I understand that there's that whole, you know, what is it called? Like, it's awkward to talk about to them and confront them. But you have to think about your patients too. It's not just them, it's the patients that are under their care too. So, and technically you're at fault. If you know that they're intoxicated and you didn't say anything, you're also at fault and you're at risk of losing your license as well, because you knowingly know they're intoxicated and didn't say anything.
Did you have a question, Tom?
So, that's,
No, you know me. You know me.
so that's an ethical decision making. So morally, if you could get the situation fixed by yourself, would it be necessary to go up that chain of command?
If in that situation they showed up at work, if this is your friend and you're hanging out, just make sure that Reagan doesn't show up for work stone. And then you guys can ideally get her into treatment and not show up to work.
Rarely do they, right off the bat, take away a license for somebody that's substance abuse. They would prefer to have a nurse go through treatment and then readdress the situation and see how they're doing after the treatment. They wouldn't just right away just take away their license like that.
Because I know they ban them from handling medication, but they can still perform their duties. But, so what you're saying, as soon as it comes to the work, then.
Well, now you have to protect the patient,
Yeah.
but ideally, you can hopefully get the problem solved before
Yeah.
they come to work and it becomes something like that. Either way, the boss is gonna find out that this person's in treatment, because they may have to make some accommodations like that, okay, you don't get the key or the code to the drug locker. But, you know,
And now you have to think about it too, it's not just between nurses, it's also with doctors. Because they're your patients as well.
cool. But yeah, you shouldn't be afraid that somebody's gonna lose their license because they're addicted to something.
The board doesn't like taking away licenses.
You really don't. You guys go through a lot of work to get them. You really don't. And you might end up getting, you know, all sorts of different suspensions and restrictions and things like that, but it's to help, not to punish. Okay? Ooh, I got a good question for you. Look at this slide. First line of it says, nurses required to care for assigned patients. And then down here under moral conflict, nurse not required to practice if situation violates moral or religious beliefs. What if you, say for example, do not believe morally, religiously, that people should have elective abortions, and you get assigned a patient, in an OB where she's having an abortion. Are these two statements compatible? Yea or nay? Yeah,
I have a question.
I heard you raise your hand and I said, yeah.
Well, I didn't have an answer. I had a question. I didn't want you to expect an answer from me. So, well, that didn't mean. Oh. It wasn't salty. Now we're talking about. Oh, can you switch patients? Like, can you talk to
switch
another
patients?
another nurse or your charge nurse and be like, hey, can we switch patients?
Yeah.
So, here's,
Just jumped on there.
yeah, give me an example, jump in.
For that one, that we've been told that technically when you're being employed, you're supposed to say that. So they'll ask you when you're being employed by a hospital, do you have any moral conflicts? Any potential moral conflicts that could prevent you from giving treatment to a patient? So something about abortion, your employer should know. So in that case, they're aware of that, and then they would make a decision from there. I mean, usually they would have another nurse go ahead and take those cases from you, or they'd be aware before giving you that assignment to not give it to you. But you were gonna.
No, I was just gonna give an example, that I was talking to, my daughter Emily about. Not that Emily just walked in for a 7 a.m. class at 11:34, but my daughter Emily, that she had something happen, when she was going through her OB rotations. And, what happened was that exact scenario. There was some girl that wanted an abortion, and there were like 4 nurses there. And every one of them said, I have a moral conflict with that. I'm not gonna do that. And there were only 4 at the time there, and every one of them said the same thing. So what do you think they did? No, they sent her to another hospital. What they said, and they took their word for it in this case. Now, again, like Natalie said, you're required, if you have a moral conflict with something, to address it before you have that patient assigned to you. Again, look at that very first thing. You are required to care for your patients that are assigned to you. They should not get assigned to you if you have a moral conflict and you told them about that ahead of time, right? In this case, all 4 nurses were like, I can't do it. So they actually called somebody in from another floor to assist. And then, because they assumed, they didn't go check their records, they just assumed that, yeah, okay, they're all, had disclosed this ahead of time. And then they had somebody else come assist, but then a couple of them had an issue because the post-care. And that's where it gets a little iffy.
No, at that point, the nurse that's assigned to her should take care of her. Because the actual act itself, it's understandable, you don't have to do it. But the post-care, I mean, you're gonna get patients that are from jail. They're gonna come into the hospital, have some kind of procedure done, no matter what they've done and before that made them go to jail, you have to treat that patient equally as any other person. So at that point, moral conflict does not apply. It's a patient,
Yeah,
so you're treating them.
whatever perceived damage you had has already been done,
Yes.
right? You can't go back in time. You got somebody who literally could bleed out on you if you don't treat them at this point. That's a different issue at that point. And again, out of those 4 nurses, they were all nurses, I was just a student observing it. One of them, she was like, I'm not thrilled about it, but that's the same conclusion she came up with. She's like, I'll take care of her because I'm okay with this, I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm okay with it. And she didn't have a problem with that. That makes sense? But that is key. You need to let them know.